Hello everyone. I welcome. Hello everyone. Hope I'm audible. Am I audible? So this is the Tax Mantra Global Firm. We are presenting or a webinar which is on the upcoming changes, and the topics which we have tried to cover over here would be on related to partnership firms and charitable trust. With me, we have Ritika Lakh. She is a qualified chartered accountant and a manager with the tax practice in Tax Mantra. She would be briefing you and taking you through the changes which has a great impact for the businessmen in with the upcoming budget. Uh, because of the budget because what has happened is in this budget there has been quite a few changes in relation to partnership firms, and in India still partnership firm is a common norm of business. So from here I would love Ritika to take over. Ritika, you can take over the session now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So today we'll take up with the two most important amendments which are made in Budget 21. One is in relation to taxation of capital gain in the hand of a partnership firm, and another is in relation to claiming of deduction by charitable trust under Section 11 and 1023C. So we'll proceed first with the capital gain taxation in the hand of a partnership firm in the case of dissolution or reconstitution. So this is a very general practice, as many of you must also be doing the same. Uh, Business are most being done via forming business in the form of partnership firm. So it is very general and common practice, and some partner may go out and another may be admitted, or partnership may get dissolved and everything. So there's a question of outgoing partner, what he should be remitted, his right or balance in the capital account, or what is his right when he goes out after reconstitution or dissolution.
So
So this
रितिका,
is a very
यहाँ पे तो रितिका टू टू समराइज यहाँ पे हम ये कह सकते हैं कि क्योंकि इंडिया में ज्यादातर बिजनेसेस पार्टनरशिप फर्म में होती है, और एक ये कॉमन प्रैक्टिस है कि फर्म्स कई बारी रिकंस्टिट्यूट होती है, कोई पार्टनर जा रहा है, कोई आ रहा है, कभी डिसॉल्व होती है। तो
yes,
उस
correct.
केसेस में जो उनका कैपिटल शेयर है या फर्म में जो कैपिटल एसेट्स है उसका जो उनको डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होता है, तो उस केसेस में क्या ना इनकम टैक्स के प्रोविजंस के अंडर कहाँ पे टैक्सेशन के इम्प्लीकेशन आ रहे हैं। वी आर जस्ट शी इज यू आर टेकिंग दोज अप, राइट?
Yes. The main issue is that when the partner is going out, what for by what he is being remitted, what he is getting, either cash or asset of the firm, how his account is settled after such reconstitution. That are generally mutually decided between the partners or according to the agreement partnership deed. So what is the consequence of income tax, that that has to be kept in mind before doing anything. So things are more critical via amendment made in this budget 21. Earlier the things were more simpler uh, in terms of law and in terms of different cases and judicial cases. So I will deal with that, how budget amendment has made a drastic change in the practice of remitting the outgoing partner on dissolution or reconstitution.
ओके।
So general thing, what is to be done is settlement of partner's capital account. Like when partner is going out, maybe he is retiring, or he is some another partner is coming, or the partnership itself may get dissolved. So how the partner will be settled? So the question comes, the one is the balance of his capital account. So he must be holding at the time of retirement, or at the time of going out. So the thing is not only paying him the balance that is reflected in the capital account, the thing also comes regarding the how he is paid in respect of goodwill of the firm, in respect of other asset in the firm, like any land is there or any fixed asset is there or any other thing which must be recorded as per accounting principle. We record as per our cost, but maybe after 10 years and partner is going, it is still recorded at book value. But if that account will valuation will not be settled with the partner, then the question comes how the partner will be paid for that increased value of any asset
तो
or
बेसिकली
decreased
हम
or
ये
whatever.
तो बेसिकली हम यहाँ पे ये कह
Yeah.
सकते हैं, जब एक पार्टनर निकलता है तो वो ये कहता है कि भैया आपने ये एसेट खरीदे थे सपोज इन 2010, okay, and that time you purchased this land for a value of X, say, and today when I'm moving out, the value of this land is X plus 10, correct? So so my worth, what I should be getting is it, the my compensation or to move out of the firm, my capital amount should be on basis X plus 10 and not X, correct, which is very genuine and a very correct fact. I think market में यही हो, and this is what it should be, because you have been your amount has been invested in that amount for a period of time, and you have the complete right to enjoy those increment or appreciation which has happened to the assets which you have contributed.
Yeah, correct. So it is the thing, like the main thing is how the partner is being remitted. The question also comes regarding the goodwill. Obviously the question of goodwill will come since the if the partnership firm is 5 year old or even 2 years old or 10 years old, the value of goodwill is not valued until and unless it is required for special cases like retirement or any loan is required and valuation of the firm in that way. What is the brand value or goodwill value? So when the partner goes out, the question of goodwill valuation also come. He must be remitted for the value of good name and the brand name when he is going out, and not only his balance that is reflecting in the partner's capital account.
Very true, very
However, since yes, since the question is here is like if the partner is being paid, so how he will be settled? Either some of the asset of the firm is given, or he is settled by cash, or any other kind of asset like some kind of stock in trade or some kind of benefit in kind may be given. So this is the major question in terms of taxation. So before the amendment, what used to happen is like generally the people used to follow like instead of giving any capital asset to the outgoing partner, money is like money in cash is given to the outgoing partner. This was the main reason behind this was that if the partnership firm is paying capital asset to the outgoing partner, it was taxable under the section 45(4) of the income tax act as capital gain. However, if the money was paid, it was not taxable under the income tax act. So the what people used to generally follow that keep remit the outgoing partner via money. So there was favorable cases and all so this become a general practice like paying the money instead of capital asset. One question also comes, capital asset is specifically taxed under the income tax act when it is given to the partner, but if any stock in trade is given to the partner, how it will be taxed? So people may also give stock in trade instead of giving capital asset. So there were a lot of question which arises. You may read from here, like if money is paid, the question of the transfer of right of capital is coming. When the capital asset gain, capital gain taxation comes out. When the balance what is reflecting in the partner's capital account and increased excess amount is given to the partner, then the question of transfer of goodwill also comes out. So these were the issues which were before. So
So basically,
some were
so basically, Ritika, over here to summarize, we can say this finance bill has enumerated a different process and the taxability of different how we deal with the settlements of the partners. So they have now, before, as
Yes.
there were not much
Yes.
regulations on the way the settlement is happening. Now the income tax act
Yes.
has become pretty clear.
If the
And
capital asset is not rolled over now.
so can we get on to the
Yes.
next slides where it says that what happens if you so basically now we can say that it becomes taxable. And there are before, what it used to be like, it was said, it was a said norm that yes, it was their share, so there cannot be any capital gains. Or now, but now the government has stated that no, it will fall under the various provisions of capital gains, and they've tried to put it under the definition of capital transfer. Now
Yeah.
we are now, whenever there is a dissolution happening or a reconstitution happening, professional advice would be required to understand and see how the taxability gets attracted, and accordingly do the transactions.
Yes, very rightly said. The things which were much simpler before, like remitting cash or stock in trade, everything, and then not coming into the angle of tax. Now all these are eliminated. Like only dissolution will attract capital gain and not reconstitution. No, these questions have been eliminated via amending the provision of section 45(4) that I will explain here. Earlier the question were there, like only dissolution will attract the capital gain. Now the word reconstitution has also been added. So even if the firm is not dissolved, and if any partner is going out and any new partner is coming in, and reconstitution also involves the change of profit sharing ratio in between the partners. So the question may also arise, like one partner before was getting 20%, and after, due to reconstitution, one is getting 25% and another is getting increased that 5%. So whether one partner is transferring his right in the partnership firm to the other partner, so the question of taxation comes over here. So these things all have been, the things were into litigation before, but now the things have become more clear since the law itself has amended section 45(4) and specifically mentioned that it will be taxed. So we have to be very technical. We have to take this decision very technically, what that reconstitution is or not, like what is being remitted to the partner, how revaluation of the asset are done, how goodwill is doing. So it is specifically written over here, if even in the case of reconstitution, it will come under taxation in the hand of the firm. Also, it is written, if any partner is going out, the balance of his capital account will not be adjusted due to increase in the valuation of asset or goodwill or any self-generated asset of the, like, brand name and everything. So, like people used to follow before, increase the value of partner capital account by revaluing the asset and the goodwill, and then remitting the partner was not taxable. So these all has come to an end, since these are now taxable. So before making any change in the constitution of the partner or taking decision of dissolution, very very technical steps and professional guidance is now required. Also, it is specifically provided in the act itself, balance in the capital account will not be increased due to valuation of asset or goodwill. And so, what is the impact? Reconstitution, in the case of reconstitution of partnership, also now it will come into taxation. Balance of capital account will not be uh, uh, will not be affected by any change in the valuation of asset or the goodwill. So how the partner will be remitted without affecting the capital account, and how the increased value of the brand and the asset of the firm will be paid to the partner, is very difficult now, has become very difficult now to take decision about that. Before it was very clear, like just pay off the partner, this is his right and all. Now this all has come to an end. So before
So
doing any,
basically, this all falls into the now ambit of the taxability, and so before taking any decisions, you have to ensure and see how how the taxability is getting attracted, and
yeah,
accordingly reconstitute your firm, seeing that it is not a very pain
yeah,
to a common businessman.
yeah. So this is a very major change which has been done in the taxation of partnership constitution under the capital gain. So mm, that is why we just gave a brief about the change to you. Now, I will come to another insertion in the capital gain provision, new insertion of section 4A. Like earlier, it was the situation like cash if remitted to the partner, or any asset which is not capital asset is remitted to the partner, outgoing partner. It is not capital asset there, that therefore it is not taxable. But new section has itself been inserted in the act, which says even if the cash is paid to the partner, even if the any other asset is given to the partner which is not capital asset, then also it will attract capital gain taxation in the hand of partnership firm. So remitting cash and remitting asset other than capital asset will now also come in the angle of taxation. So which these point has to be kept in mind before taking any decision regarding the reconstitution or dissolution of partner.
Okay.
Same thing here also, it has been specifically written like balance in capital account will not be increased due to any value of asset or increased value of goodwill, that I explained earlier. So this is the similar kind of impact for the payment of remitting the partner via money or other asset instead of capital asset. So these kind of amendment neutralized many old and landmark cases which were there before regarding that these are not taxable. So all those cases of Supreme Court or High Court are now not valid, so which need a technical decision before applying those cases. And the facts of the case of each of the SSE are very important to know before taking any decision regarding the taxability. So this is a kind of aware regarding remitting the partner of a partnership firm. Now I will come to the topic charitable trust. Here also a major change has been made, which was there in the Income Tax Act, kind of loophole in the Income Tax Act, which made an unintended claim of double deduction, like double exemption of any kind of income. So, for this, I will first give you a brief regarding how income is exempt under in the hand of charitable trust. So, if any person wishes to register as a charitable or religious trust, uh, it will take registration under relevant section of the Income Tax Act, and whatever the income of the that charitable trust comes out, there's a condition that has that the income has to be applied for charity only, then only it is exempt under income tax. For that income, no income tax will be applicable on that income. The major condition is that that income has to be applied for charity only. And the definition of charitable purpose is also there under the income tax, like for education or general relief to the poor or general public utility. So this is also very technical, like whether you are coming into the definition of charity or not. So also the condition is that like 100 rupees there's a 100 rupees general donation in the hand of charitable trust, then you have to apply 85% of that income, like you have to spend 85% of that income in that particular year only, and only 15% of uh, total income is allowed to be accumulated for further savings or reserve, like maybe applied at any future date and not required to apply it in the current year. But there's a direct exemption for corpus donation. Corpus donation is something like if any donation has been received which are very specific, like this donation has to be used for this purpose, and that are not general in nature, like for building or for any particular purpose. If any donation is received, that is called corpus donation. So there's no such condition of applying 85% of corpus donation in the year which is received, in which it is received. It may be applied at any future date, and it is directly exempt under the Income Tax Act without any such condition. But there was a loophole in that corpus donation, was that one condition under the Income Tax Act is also that for every kind of income received by a charitable trust has to be deposited in the separate mode or investment that has been separately prescribed under the act. But there is no such segregation. Even the general income are also uh, mm, invested or deposited in one account, and even the corpus donation are also invested or deposited in one account. There was no segregation like what is corpus donation, what part of the balance is the general donation. So what people used to do, that they claim corpus donation directly exempt when they are received. However, when they spend any amount of income from that corpus donation, they again claim it as application of income under that 85% criteria. So it leaded a situation like for similar expenditure you are claiming corpus donation directly exempt also, and again you are claiming deduction for 85%. So this leaded double deduction of for single spend. So, and it was, I think, very unintentional. Even the SSE did not want to do that. Even the law did not want to do that. So the law has made a clarification for that, that if you receive any corpus donation, it will be directly exempt if you separately maintain an account for it, not in the general account. Like you have to maintain a separate mode of investment or separate mode of bank account or whatever the modes are given under section 11 for that, that is specifically meant for corpus.
तो बेसिकली रितिका, हम यहाँ पे ये बोल सकते हैं कि जो चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट में दो तरह के फंड्स होते थे, एक जनरल फंड होता था, एक कॉर्पस फंड होता है। कॉर्पस फंड अगर हम बोलते हैं तो कॉर्पस फंड इज अबाउट डेजिग्नेटेड पर्पस, कि हाँ आप ये पैसा सिर्फ इसी चीज के लिए यूज कर सकते हो। और जो जनरल फंड होता है वो आप चैरिटी के जो आपके ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज में चैरिटी के पर्पसेज है आप उसके लिए यूज कर सकते हो, राइट? So previously as a practice, as I think as we all know कि what is to happen कि जनरल का भी पैसा उसी बैंक अकाउंट में जाके बैठ रहा है और आपका कॉर्पस का भी पैसा उसी अकाउंट में जाके बैठ रहा है। तो इट वाज बिकमिंग डिफिकल्ट फॉर द ट्रस्टीज एंड फॉर द ट्रस्टीज टू आइडेंटिफाई कि विच मनी इज बीइंग स्पेंट and which was leading to kind of having a double deduction in the case of corpus money, wherein it was being exempted as in when the money is received, again it was you are claiming deduction when you are being spent.
Yes.
So basically the government has it is a more of a difficult situation which they have tried to amend, then of a change in the any section. Over here they've just said that okay, since it was making difficult for the authorities to identify the amount, and so as with the trustees, so what you need to do is now you need to deposit that amount into that another separate, the MRC funds have to be deposited into the other account, and for the general one you have to maintain another account, so that there is a trail that which money is being used for what, and there is no double taxation, double exemption happening.
Yes.
Any other points with the charitable trust which we
I would like to mention here one more thing. Similar kind of difficulty of double deduction was there in case of loan. When the charitable trust takes a loan amount and the amount is spent from that loan fund only, it is claimed as application of income under 85% criteria. And again, when the loan was repaid to the funding party, it was again claimed as a application of income under 85% of criteria. So similar thing was that when the corpus donation was received and then spent, double kind of deduction. So similar thing was happening here also. So the law has been made very clear regarding like in case of loan also, if you are taking a loan and spending amount from the loan fund only for any charity purpose, it will be not it shall not be treated as application of income under 85% criteria. However, when the loan is repaid from your general income, it will be considered as application of income.
Okay.
So this leads only one time deduction and not double deduction.
So we can say that the government has made these changes very thoughtfully in the charitable trust, and I think it has helped the assessees to have a clear picture of how the funds are being used, and also for the tax authorities.
Yes, and one more thing, that it is very compulsory that you have to maintain separate account for corpus donation. If you are not maintaining, you cannot claim direct exemption. If
Okay.
you are not maintaining that separate corpus donation account, then the exemption under section 11 for corpus donation is not available. So I think this is a very good step by the government. Like no one will like ignore the amendment. So any kind of corpus donation will now have to be maintained separately. So I think professional guidance is required how to maintain that corpus donation separately. So it is very mandatory. Once again, I will add that you cannot ignore that maintaining the corpus donation separately. Otherwise, total 100% exemption that you get for corpus donation is not available. Similar amendment has also been made under section 1023C, like some of the institute are not registered as charitable trust, but they are separately exempt itself under section 10 only, like for education institute or some of the hospitals. So they also have to maintain the corpus donation thing separately. All educational institute who are claiming their income exempt, or medical institute who are claiming their income exempt under Income Tax Act, even if they are not registered as charitable or religious trust under section 12A. Yes. So this was the situation which were there before. Now I think if there is any question, I think there is no question till now which we can deal. So you must be, our portal is open, like any kind of confusion or thing, if anyone faces in the changes that I have explained in the partnership remittance to the partner, or in when the corpus donation is received and the amount is spent from the corpus donation by a charitable or religious trust. So you can post your question in our portal. We will deal it separately. We are very much available for the questions and clearing your doubts for the same. So I think that's all for today. And I will wait for 10 seconds if Priyanka has to add anything. Okay. So I think, okay. Okay, thank you very much for listening us.
Yeah, Ritika, I'm so sorry. I just got a very important call to attend, so I just had to go on mute. So it was
You
indeed
want
a
to
very
add
brief.
anything? You just add. I have just mentioned that the question answer they can write separately. We will deal that.
Correct. So it was indeed a very brief and a good, fruitful insight, I think, for everyone. And as Ritika has rightly mentioned, if anybody has any queries, so they can write to us on our on this email ID, which has been mentioned in this slide, or you can even call us or WhatsApp us, and we will revert to you. And it would be we would be more than happy to address your queries and take it forward. I hope you all enjoyed this session and had a good value addition to yourself. Thank you for being there. Thank you, Ritika, for giving your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.